Well, welcome to Dirty Talk. I am Lawrence Winnerman, joined by the always amazing Füsun Aydın. Hi, Füsun.
Hi Lawrence.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to you today about our topic. It feels really timely, I think, talking about
Mhm.
this. Yeah,
It feels it's do you want to introduce the topic?
you. How about go for it? You tell the people what we're talking about today.
So today we're talking about safe sex, um safer sex in the 21st century, um about PrEP, about STIs, STDs, all of that lovely stuff. Oh,
The advice for safer sex was like, oh, whoops. Sorry,
yeah,
did
yeah.
I?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. I,
You're
I
back
think
now.
it's better. I'm gonna turn on do not disturb so I don't get interrupted by phone calls. All right, there we go. Now I'm back. Yeah, like I grew up in a time period where like safer sex meant basically like wear a condom or don't have sex. And things are more evolved now. We have more
Oh, sorry.
alternatives and better advice. No worries. Good
Chaos.
morning,
Sorry,
everybody.
guys. I'm good. I'm composed. I'm settled. Sorry about that.
You're all good. Uh, so yeah, we wanted to talk today about safer 21st century safer sex, which is more than just condoms and abstinence, although certainly condoms still figure big into the picture. Um, where do we begin, Susan? Like, how do we dig into this topic? What do you think?
Think we start by talking about how queer people have historically been quite ignorant of safe sex, because I think it was maybe a lack of. I think when people think about safe sex, they think about not getting somebody pregnant, right? That's one
Right,
of the big things. And obviously, two of the same sex can't uh they can't conceive together. So it's like I think that queer people have had some ignorance about it because they're like, we can't get nobody pregnant. We don't need to use a condom. And
sure,
maybe that started in like the ignorance of like transmission of STIs and STDs. Um and like yeah, I think we started at the beginning. I think we started at the beginning. I
yeah,
think I think when queer people started taking safe sex seriously is unfortunately when thousands of us were dying.
yeah,
I think that's when we started looking at it and thinking, no, we need to do something, because there were people in the 70s who were going to gay men's groups or to transgender groups, and they were saying, you need to wear a condom, you need to protect yourself. They were getting laughed out. The people were going, no, no, no. No, we don't need to. Don't come here tell us what to do. We're already oppressed. We'll do whatever we like,
right.
you know?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The generation of men before me, people who have sex with men kind of before me really embrace sexual liberation, right? Like, so the 60s and early 70s were a lot about sexual liberation in the straight world, and then that kind of finally, after Stonewall and kind of the increasing visibility of the queer rights movement, that sexual liberation really moved into the queer community, and particularly gay men, or people who have sex with men in kind of the context of trans and gay men, um, really went to town. Like there were, I worked with a guy, the first openly gay man that I ever knew. Um, would talk. We'd ask questions in the bookstore that we worked in. Kind of like, oh, like what is it like? What do you do? And, he talked very openly about Crisco discos, right? Where people would
Mhm.
go to a dance club. I mean, basically, it was a sex party. You'd go and you'd dance, and people would literally bring Crisco because it was a lubricant, and just everyone would fuck. And,
Mhm.
and that was sort of the vibe into which, you're talking about, where people would come and try to, um, talk about condoms and safer sex, even before and as HIV was entering the community, and they'd get laughed at. Like, gay men at
Yeah,
that time didn't want to hear it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and it was absolutely HIV and AIDS that made the community realize that, condoms had a place in the safer sex conversation, and uh, I'm going to make a point later about kind of monkeypox and how seriously the gay community has ended up taking protection and safety. But that's the beginning, right? Is like in sort of the late 70s, very early 80s, this, kind of unbelievable sexual freedom that the gay community was experiencing. Um, the AIDS virus like basically found a perfect transmission, the perfect community into which, uh, to infect, hundreds of thousands, millions of people.
That's what I say. I say that a lot. I say that there's never been a more perfect virus,
Right.
like
Yeah.
for that reason.
I understand why there were rumors and conspiracy theories that the virus had been tailored specifically to take out, the gay community, because it really was like it was perfectly crafted, like transmissible only through, through sex, through the, sharing of bodily fluids, specifically semen, um, into a community where, that was like the end all be all, getting
Mm,
fucked, fucking people,
exactly. It, it's that's like it's really from a biological standpoint. It sounds it's a very problematic thing to say, but really, like the virus in itself, take away the connotations, take away everything. The virus in itself is a stroke of genius. Like because it is like it literally breaks down your defenses. Like slowly, and it's not like you get it one day and then the next week you're deadly sick. It takes years, and
Right.
it's patient, and it perseveres, and it destroys your immune system. And like transmission via sex into a community, like you said, that wasn't practicing safer sex and frankly didn't really care about safer sex.
Right.
Like
Was
it
absolutely not interested in hearing about it.
disaster. It's a calamity on such an horrendous level.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
two that met, for them
Yeah.
two things to meet, calamity.
I mean, I say this a lot. Like, I'm 55. I'm Gen X, and and AIDS took away the generation right before me. Right, like the gay men. Like my first boss at that bookstore, the first openly gay man I knew. Like, those people should have been my friends and mentors. Right, they should have been the people that I could safely come out to, and probably would have been the people that I would have had my first sexual experiences with, and they all died. Like, I know that there are people who avoided that. There are gay men alive, from that generation, but so many people in that generation died that it was like the great, like, game of telephone across the generations, that it, involved gay sex, and sort of teaching people how to process their trauma and get okay with being gay and coming out and all of those things, how to have sex and how to clean out for sex, like just all the stuff. All of that
Mhm.
got broken because that generation of men died. Um,
We
so
lost, we lost, we lost so much knowledge and so much. so much wealth. We lost a whole generation of people,
Right.
you
When you
know.
think about, sometimes I make myself sad because I think about the, like, all of the art, all of the music, all of the like fashion, like you name it, like the things that
Keith
could have
Haring,
come,
you know.
yeah, the things that could have come through that, from that generation of men had they lived, you know? Um, so yeah, so that's like the setting,
Yeah.
that's the conversation, where the conversation started. And, again, when I was growing up and just starting to realize I was gay and come out, um, the alternatives at the time were wear a condom or don't have sex. Like that was it. Um, and fortunately, we are at a place now where we have a lot more alternatives than that. But I wanted to kind of take a moment before we sort of shift into all of that, Fusen. Like, I know that, when you're working, and because you work in Amsterdam, you have access to a lot of resources and medicines. And I know that you've got personal protocols around the way that you interact with your clients, and condom use and that kind of thing. I was wondering if maybe we wanted to kind of talk about that for a minute, because I think in a lot of ways you are a great model for how to engage in having safer sex with strangers, right? Because that's your job.
Yeah, I think I think the baseline to the conversation before anything is always wear a condom. Always. You know, like it's as wear it like you'd wear your trousers going outside. You
Right.
know, like that's the baseline. Good thing about my job is that as part of the rental agreement of a room, your condoms are included in that. So before you start a shift, when someone comes to let you in, because you don't have keys to the room, someone has to come and let you in.
Right.
They'll give you a roll of like Trojan or Durex or something like that. Um, and like it's free and it's illegal actually in the Netherlands for a sex worker to have sex without a condom.
Hmm.
It's against the law. So, um, as a matter of protocol, every sex worker wears a condom or
Yeah.
makes their client wear a condom. There is no, oh, if I pay you another €100, can I go bareback? No, you could pay me €2,000 and you still wouldn't
Right.
get that from me. Like, but then also we have free STI testing. So we have a resource center. It's called the Prostitute Information Center, and it's in the red light district. And you go there. There's a clinic, an open clinic once a week. In that clinic, you can go and get a STI test, so that's a urine test and a blood test.
Right.
Um, and you can also get PrEP from that clinic as well for free.
Yeah.
Um, um, so anything sexual health related is free, essentially anything. Um, but the problem is with that is that because there's over 300 windows in the wallet, right? So potentially that's 300 women
Right.
working at any time. You know, that's the maximum that could be. Um, or 300 windows, sorry, across Amsterdam, not just in the red light district, in all three of the districts.
Yeah.
Um, so the problem with that is that you have to you can drop in, but there'll be a horrendous uh, queue, like a
Right.
line.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes the results can take a while to come back. Um, so you have to, so it's really first come, first serve kind
Right.
of basis. But you are getting it for free, so you can't really complain about that, I guess, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, I mean, we're pretty good. We're pretty well looked after in that respect because I think we understand, and from our point of view, is that if we are clean, and we take good care of ourselves from a sexual health context, that will then encourage more people to come. More people will be reassured. I lose like, or not lose, sorry. I have clients who haven't come, or curious people who haven't come into my window because they're not sure whether I'm clean or not,
Right.
or whether another woman's. It's the story across the whole red light district. It's like, do you have any STIs, STDs? No, I get tested regularly. Prove it. Like, I can show
Right.
you this text. Oh, I still don't believe. So like, they can show you the text. So instead, they give you a certificate. Yeah, you get a
Yeah.
certificate, and you can be like, "Look, here's the certificate. Here's when I was last tested. You can go verify this with the Prostitute Information Center, and then you can come back." So for
Right.
us, it's a good thing because we dispel that worry that clients may have as well. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And so I think you mentioned that your prep is also free through the Prostitute Information Center, the program that you sign up for. So let's maybe kind of.
correction. Sorry, correction. It's free through another service
Okay.
for trans women. A separate service. My mistake. My
Okay.
apologies.
Yeah, no worries. But so let's kind of move into talking about prep, right? Because this is, I think, the kind of the big breakthrough that occurred in the treatment of HIV and AIDS. Um, uh, and I see that a doctor has just joined us. I do want to kind of put out there, Füsun and I, neither one of us is a doc. Although I don't know, Füsun, you are
The
so
doctor of love, baby.
yeah, doctor of love. Yeah. So neither of us are doctors, but Fusen being a sex worker in Amsterdam, myself being an openly gay man who has had a lot of sex in my life. We're talking to you about kind of our best practices and what we believe and what we know. And certainly, everyone should, when you're talking about PrEP medication or anything like that, you need to go to a doctor to get a prescription for it anyway. Please, of course, go talk to your doctor.
Mm.
And maybe the baseline, the kind of transition into the topic of PrEP is you should know your status. If you are a person who has um, sex with men who fit into risk profiles, men who have sex with men, or trans women, or you're in the queer community, you should know the status. You should know your sexual status. You should know if you have any STIs, the good old fashioned common ones like
Yeah.
chlamydia or gonorrhea. You should know your herpes status. You should obviously be tested for HIV and AIDS and know your status there. But the big deal, the big change that happened within the last 2 decades was the advent of PrEP medications, and HIV treatment medications for people who do have the virus. Um, so the first two that we kind of there are four HIV prevention treatments currently available in the States, and I'm betting, Fusen, this is probably the same in Amsterdam as well. Two of them are pills. Um, those I think in both cases those pills are um, both a combination of two antivirals, right? So um, uh, I pulled up some information here, and I'm trying to uh, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to pronounce these.
Don't pronounce it. It's okay.
Pronounce the names of the actual medications: cabotegravir and lenacapavir. Um, so there are two pills that you can get. In the U.S., they go by the brand names Truvada or Descovy.
Yeah.
They are from, I believe, of similar efficacy, right? And it's high nines efficacy, like 99.99% safe, in terms of if you take the medication regularly, it's a once daily pill. Um, it will protect you from exposure to the HIV virus.
Sure will.
There
It
are
does give you the shit, so
it it will fuck up your digestion. I For me, I got over that. Uh, like there were a couple months where I was dealing with that, but then my gut biome sort of adjusted. Um, there are side effects. You do need to monitor your liver functions. So kind of brace yourself. If you go to your doctor, if you go to your physician and you ask for PrEP medication, you will come back every 3 months to be tested to make sure that you haven't contracted the virus. And you will do a blood draw every 3 months. And they, which obviously they're doing to test you for HIV, but they'll do things like check liver function and whatnot. Um, yeah. So you mentioned it messed up your digestion. It gave you the shits. What
Yeah.
else has your experience been with PrEP, Fusen?
That's really about it, really. Like, I mean, when I first started taking it, yeah, like it, I had diarrhea quite badly. Like the kind that makes you sprint very, 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 very fast. Like it messed up my stomach a little bit. And I got quite worried about it. And then I talked to a doctor, and the doctor said, no, that's just a side effect. And most people, it's a common side effect. Um, and ever since then, I've been fine. But for a while afterwards, actually, I started getting a weird rash on my back,
Hmm.
and it was like hives. It looked like somebody had lashed me.
Oof.
And it was I I don't know if it was anything to do with it. They couldn't figure it out, but it was around about the same time that I was taking it. And I said, this rash every night, because it was never in the day, it was always at night. I said, is coming up on my back, and it is coincided with my starting to use PrEP.
Right.
Like, has this got anything to do with it? And they said, it could do, just keep an eye on it. But it could just be something else, like an allergy to something like new. Like, if you used any new laundry detergent, if and all of these questions. I said no. Um, but that dissipated after a while. That stopped happening. But I did report it. I did say like this is a side effect that I'm having, because you have this ability in the Netherlands that if you're taking a medication, you can report side effects.
Right.
Um, I never heard anything back from it. Nobody said anything. The doctor didn't seem to be convinced, but I was I was more or less okay after a couple of months. But
Yeah.
yeah, other than that, I've been fine. I would imagine that it's probably protected transmission for me several times, I would imagine. Like, in reality, like, because I've actually, like, I'm not ashamed to admit it, that I've um I've slept with people unknowingly who were pos and weren't U equals U at the
Right.
time. U
Right.
equal U's for anyone is undetectable and untransmissible.
Right.
So it's undetectable, therefore you can't pass it on. Um and yeah, I didn't know. And then he told me, like, a couple this is a really shitty thing to do, right? This is why, if you're positive, you have to tell people that you're positive.
Right.
And that's a hard thing to do, and I can imagine, but he didn't tell me, and he didn't know I was on PrEP, and he could have changed my life like
Yeah. Absolutely.
tenfold. I later found out he was positive, so I got a test, and there is a drug you can take if you feel like you've been exposed for a small window afterwards.
Right.
I was beyond that window. Um, I just later found out, and then I went crazy, but PrEP PrEP stopped me from contracting it.
Yeah.
So that's how important it is.
Yeah. So that's a great point. If you have so like we can talk about how you should use a condom every time, right? And we can also admit, so I've got a boyfriend with whom I have unprotected sex, meaning, we go bareback.
Mhm.
Um, we are both on PrEP. We both get tested regularly. It is still a risk, of course, but it's a risk I'm willing to take with him. But there are also people who in the community who will, uh, go have sex while high, right? Like we talked about chemsex last week, and so this is kind of a crossover between those two episodes. Like there are people who will have sex while high who forget or choose not to use condoms kind of while they're in an altered state. And yeah, in a situation like that, you should ask, you should know the status of not just your status, but the status of the person that you're having sex with. Um, and if you don't use uh, a condom, you should be taking PrEP so that you can have a backup plan, right? So that you can be sure that you're protected in that way. And like you said, there is kind of an emergency, like within the first, I think it's 2 days after
Yeah.
exposure, you can get the medication, and that at least helps prevent the virus from, um, if it has gotten into your system, there's at least a chance that it could kill all of it, and it won't you won't have a seroconversion event. It won't basically take over your immune system and get into your lymph nodes and become kind of impossible to eradicate from your system.
Yes. The importance of testing, like and nobody likes wearing a condom, right? Let's be honest. Nobody likes wearing a condom, like because I don't particularly like wearing a condom, but I have to, and it's a struggle for me to wear a condom because I'm already on HRT, which means like it's harder for me to get erect. But on the, on the plus side, I've got a larger appendage, so it doesn't really
Here we
matter a
go,
lot.
everybody. Fusen's gonna brag about her giant dick.
Look, it
Okay.
was gonna come out one day, so I was want to put it into the conversation. I,
Right. Right. In case you weren't here for the episode where we talked about my method of deducing penis size, which is a long, prominent nose, and big hands, big thumb in relation. Yeah. Large lower lip. Okay, Fusen, stop bragging.
yeah, no,
As she
no,
like flips her hair around.
no, I'm not bragging. There's no need to brag when you've got a dick like mine. It speaks for itself.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I adore you. All right. So there are two pills, right? There are two pills for PrEP that you can take. I mean, not at the same time. You get either Truvada or Descovy, but there are also injectables now. In the United States, Apretude is, I think it's every 2 months you go for an injection, and it's greater than 99% effective when you keep on the schedule. And then there's a new one, which I love this. The brand name that they decided to call it was Yes to Go. You can just hear every queen like, Yes to Go.
It's deliberate, wasn't it, the bastards?
Yeah, seriously, well done, marketing bastards. And it's a twice yearly PrEP. Uh, I'm pretty sure injection. It is an injection. So it's every 6 months.
Lauren,
Oh, did I freeze or did you freeze?
is this me?
Oh no, Fusen, come back.
Second, I'm gonna move somewhere better.
Okay, yeah, that's better. You're back. Oh, I lost you again.
Better. Is it better?
Uh, I think so. Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
I'm gonna.
it's better.
Okay, sorry guys.
You're good.
All right. Okay, good.
Yeah. Um. So that's PrEP, right? Like that's PrEP medication. Um. You talked about U equals U, so undetectable equals untransmittable. So people who have the virus, there are several protocols that they could be on, for treatment. And as long as they're doing that and they can get the viral load in their body down to being undetectable, they are not able to transmit it to a sexual partner. Um, of course, if you don't have the virus, you should still be taking PrEP medication as like that double shield, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's talk about the other vaccines. What other I'm curious, in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, do you get other vaccinations as a part of just regular healthcare, or as your work as a sex worker, like monkeypox and
Monkeypox.
HPV and all those?
Yeah, monkeypox. Um, HPV is more difficult to get a hold of.
Really?
Um, yeah, because I for some reason they're not that fussed about it, which is insane to me. It's like because they say, well, so like I don't know the exact percentage, but so many of the population has it. They're like not that fussed about rolling out preventative things. But I mean I'm not HPV positive. I don't know how. Like that's crazy to me that I haven't got that.
Yeah.
Touch wood. But you could like but they're not that fussed about doing it. And I'm like, no, I would really like one. They're like, no, you're gonna have to wait and stuff. And I've been waiting for a long time. But we did get monkeypox really quickly.
Yeah.
That was very rapid. That was like, yeah, right, we need to do this now because there's still there's contact between us and another person.
Right.
If
Right.
we're on top of somebody, you can get it, you know. So um it can yeah, that's what I'm saying, Donna. Sorry. Should add a footnote onto that is that cisgender sex workers take priority over trans sex workers
Oh, good.
because they have a cervix.
Yeah.
So
I
they're seen
so
as more at risk.
what's interesting is, just kind of some information background. HPV is the human papilloma virus. It's warts, right? It's genital warts. And there is now a vaccine against it called, in the US, the brand name is Gardasil. It's 2 doses, and the protocol here is that any queer person can get it because it is connected to cervical cancer in women, but they're also finding that it's connected to anal cancers,
Nice.
and so like the protection is, I think at this point, at least in terms of the data that the U.S. used to have, I'm sure that RFK Jr. has deleted it or something. It was it's something that can prevent cancers down the road, also throat cancers, right? So
Nice.
um, you can get genital warts anywhere that, like throat, vagina, butthole, like you can, yeah, you can get HPV anywhere. And so, cancers that are associated with those places can be connected to HPV. So it's worth it, to get the Gardasil vaccine.
I think their whole point of view is more like, oh, well, we already give you so much for free. Like we already give you so much for free, and we need to prioritize who's more at risk. And I think because those, I mean, it sounds like the whole anal cancer um thing is quite not as established as cervical cancer in terms of HPV being a cause. I think they're waiting for more established facts on it before they do it. But because I'm already at a heightened risk of anal cancer anyway because I have anal sex a lot. Like
Right.
anal sex can, or they believe can lead to a higher risk of contracting anal cancer because the tissue damage.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of another thing that we should talk about, right? That when you are having sex, lube is important because lube helps prevent the micro tears that can occur in tissue. Because you're thrusting a hard object against delicate tissue for long periods of time. If there's lubrication, that's less likely to pull and tear at the tissue, which reduces micro tears, which means foreign objects, viruses, bacteria are less likely to pass, into those micro tears. Um, Little LP says there's an age limit to when you can get the vaccine. last they knew, at least. I'm
Mm,
looking that up right now because I didn't know that.
I didn't
Um,
know that either.
yeah. So I guess so. Basically, the answer is mostly no. Um, so okay, for Gardasil for HPV, it's approved through age 45. But and so it's off protocol for 45. But my doctor is a gay doctor and was basically like, "Fuck all those limits. I'm giving it to you anyway." So it's definitely, I think, kind of depends on, at least in the US, the doctor that you're working with. Um, and hey, if you're a queer person, I highly recommend getting a queer doctor or queer friendly doctor because the level of care, in my opinion, does make a difference. And I've had access. I got I got Gardasil. I got the Gardasil vaccine when it was still only recommended for women because my doctor was like, "Fuck this! They're going to approve it for men eventually." You know. Um, so
Yeah. Renegade.
renegade.
Renegade doctor.
Yeah, I do. So I want to talk about a thing with regard to vaccines. We didn't. So we didn't yet mention Hep A and Hep B. You
Yeah.
should go get your Hep A and Hep B vaccines.
Mhm.
Those are absolutely, you know, things that are transmissible through sex. And if you are, if we're talking about sort of the full 21st century protocol for safer sex, there are a series of vaccines that you should get. Hep A and Hep B. We talked about Gardasil, um, and monkeypox, right? So
Mm.
there was not a monkeypox pandemic a couple of years ago because the queer community learned its lesson from HIV, and um, the queer community was the first hit with monkeypox when it was about to go big, and kind of, at least in the States, and I think probably Füsun for you as well in Europe, like the call went out that if you were in the queer community having sex with men, you needed to go get the monkeypox vaccine immediately. And we did. We showed up. It was two doses. Like many vaccines, the first dose, the injection didn't hurt particularly bad. The second one was fucking murder. Um, but I know I was living in Seattle at the time, and every gay dude that I knew was proud that they went and got the monkeypox vaccine, not just because we didn't fucking want monkeypox, but because it actually prevented it from moving into the larger community and becoming a pandemic, which it easily could have done. Um,
Sure.
yeah. And then there's a meningococcal vaccine that is recommended. I don't know how widely accessible it is, but that is something that people should cover. And then that's just sort of layered on top of, like, you should have your Tdap. If you need a booster for your boost for Tdap, you should get your flu vaccine on a regular basis. You should get your COVID vaccine if RFK isn't fucking that up for everybody. Like, just kind of common sense vaccination schedule.
And none of these vaccines will give your child autism either.
Right.
Just
None
just
of them give
remember
your
that.
Yeah, none of them will give your kids autism. So Dana and we just had Carlin Betcha on Daily Whatever right before this, and we talked about the fact that, like, is there a 1 in a million chance that the COVID vaccine could kill you? Sure. Like, there every vaccine has some teeny tiny risk profile to it. Like, could you be that 1 in 2 million person who has some adverse reaction to a vaccination and dies? You could
Yes,
be. But
of
without
course.
it, are you much more likely to not be protected against, HPV or monkeypox or HEP or, you know, or HIV? Like, yes. Like,
Yeah.
there's a greater danger of those things than the infinitesimal chance that you're going to be somebody who has a bad reaction to a vaccine.
I could sit here now and there is one chance out of millions that the roof above me could cave in on me,
Right.
right? Like that could happen, right? Same, there's nothing is risk-free. There is nothing that is absolutely risk-free. You do things, you turn on your cooker, heaven forbid, your cooker could blow up if it's a gas cooker. Like, there's so many risks in life. Like, you can't condemn a virus because um a minority, a very small minority, had bad reactions to it.
Right.
These things are natural. People are allergic to medications. That has been the case since the advent of medications, right?
Yep.
So it's like people are allergic to penicillin. Some people will die if they have penicillin. So should we stop giving people penicillin,
Right. Nope.
right, or amoxicillin? No, of course not, because they save lives. Like, don't listen to those fucking idiots. Like, honestly, don't listen to those people. Those people are looking for attention. They don't give a fuck about the people who are vaccine injured or medication injured. They don't care about them. They're using them as political pawns. They
Yes.
don't believe the shit that's coming out of their mouth. They only believe in the advancement of themselves and appealing to a certain base and winning votes. I'm not specifically talking about RFK. I'm talking about anybody in that kind of arena that says your child will get autism if you don't get vaccines. Or, like those fucking idiots that you hear about saying, well, measles doesn't exist anymore, or polio doesn't exist anymore. Do you know why it doesn't exist anymore? Do you know why
Right.
it's been eradicated? Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then you'll notice that the countries that do have high levels of polio and diseases like that do not have access to vaccines in the same way the United States or Western Europe has.
Right.
It's like see the connection. These people won't see the connection because it's inconvenient for them to do so.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you spout enough bullshit, you can reach a fairly decent position within the United States government, apparently.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Sadly true. So we've got a lot of comments, a lot of great comments in the chat. So little LT noted that they were told that they were too old to get it in the mid aughts and they were in their late 20s. Sorry
mm,
about that, little LT. Dana
mm,
said Advil can kill you. Uh, um, Marnie said you could die with your seatbelt on, but you have much higher chance of surviving with it on as well. Robin says doing nothing isn't even risk free. Totally true. Tylenol can kill kidney function, says Mason. Little T said they had an allergic reaction to the Hep B vaccine, but shit happens. It might be rare, but it still happens.
mm.
Right. Like nothing is 100% safe, but these are things that we can do, particularly, if you are currently sexually active and you are having sex, with a number of partners, which many people in the queer community do. You can do things to help protect yourself. You mentioned antibiotics, and so I'm wondering, Fusen, do you use doxypep? Do you use the PEP protocol for gonorrhea and chlamydia prevention? Uh,
D- Yeah, and like, I have to. In a sense, because unfortunately, in my younger years, like, in full disclosure, I have no mind saying it that I was exposed to STIs, and I did transmit, or I did receive STIs, um, because the use of condoms was varied, and I was just an idiot. Like, I didn't care, like I didn't care about it. So now I take every precaution eh, available because things like gonorrhea or chlamydia, they're not nice things, I can tell you. Like, they are chlamydia is dangerous because it's symptomless, right?
right.
Mostly. So you don't even know you've had it, but if you're a woman, it can make you infertile, and same for a man, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So doxypep is PEP is post exposure prophylaxis.
mhm.
And doxypep is doxycycline. And so there is a protocol that gay doctors in the US now use called doxypep, where you've got a prescription filled for doxycycline, and if you have sex where you think you've been exposed to, well, actually, the protocol is just after you have sex, take doxy for 3 days. And uh, I've got that. My boyfriend has it. Like it is a at least in the queer community, becoming a really common thing that if you're going to an event or a dance party, or you're gonna go slut around on a bear weekend or something. Not that
Yeah.
not that I've ever
No.
done that. Uh, like you know that you're going to take doxy, right? You're probably going to have the shits for a couple days afterwards because you're taking a strong antibiotic, but you're also making sure that if you were exposed to gonorrhea or chlamydia, that you are kind of um, getting it out of your system before it really has a chance to take. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it, so it's kind of making. I don't know how to say this right. I'm just going to say it and sort of damn the torpedoes. Um, I think younger people with penises have a challenge because, Fusen, you kind of wrote about this in one of your recent stories. Like, a man with the horns is not rational, right? Like, I know that we absolutely need to talk about men taking responsibility for their sexuality and for obviously consent and all of those things. So I feel like I don't know. I'm betraying some secret here, but particularly like young men, when they get horny, tend to lose all reason. Um, this is not an excuse. I'm not excusing anybody's behavior by any stretch of the imagination. It should honestly be treated like a mental condition. Would you agree?
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Um, I would stop at the point of saying that they have diminished responsibility.
oh
Though it's
yeah,
very
no. You have 100% responsibility, but we should understand that men in raging hormone mode who are horny often don't think straight, literally, figuratively, in every sense of the word. um so protecting yourself if you have sex with men is a thing that you have to do, because um I've had the experience. I'm sure you've probably had the experience, Fusun. I bet a bunch of women in our audience have had the experience of a man lying about whether he had a particular thing or had been recently tested or knew his status on something, because the man who wants to get laid, like, doesn't
yeah,
always tell the truth.
absolutely they don't. They don't. They're like they are like I said, they're the most deceptive and delusional, and I argue the point that they're in their truest form at this at this stage. But they're completely delusional, um, inherently selfish when
Yes.
when when they're when they're at that state. They're inherently selfish because it doesn't matter about anybody else. It just matters about them, and it matters getting their rocks up. So
Yeah.
it's like you, yeah, fucking like. But I can tell when somebody's too eager and somebody isn't rationalizing. On the one hand, it works in my favor a lot of the time. Unfortunately, like I'm a career opportunist. Like that's my job is to see an opportunity and is to take from as much from that opportunity as possible. I don't care really about them that much in that respect.
Yeah.
Outside of work, if I see somebody who's too eager, who's acting not rationally and is clearly thinking with their dick, and there are signs because the sign is that they probably won't stop messaging you. They'll they're not interested in anything else other than sex. They won't talk about anything. They just want to talk about sex and having sex. Like, avoid those people unless you know them well enough to know that they're clean, and that they're honest about it, and you trust them. Everybody gets horny. Like if you've got a partner, you get in that state. I get in that state of mind, like if I'm having sex with my partner or whatever. Like I get, you know, that on the brain. But if you don't know somebody and they're being like this, avoid them. Just say no. Just say no to them because you can't always tell if somebody has an STI or an STD. You can't tell unless someone has AIDS, whether they've got HIV, generally. You can't tell. So it's really not worth it. And if you are going to do that, if you are going to go with that person, then you need to do the doxy pep or the pep in general.
Right.
Like, if you're gonna make that decision, you're gonna do it because I know we all do, and we all like act on impulse when somebody else is impulsive. Like can be a chain reaction. Just just make sure the next day you go to a pharmacist and you talk to them and you say, I've had this experience, and don't be embarrassed to say it. Like
Right.
don't be embarrassed. They've heard everything. They are not gonna judge you. And even if they do, fuck them. You don't It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? Like their thoughts are their own business, but just get the medication because you do not want an STI at all. It will be one of the worst experiences of your life because it is remarkably uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Pissing razor blades, just that's exactly what it feels like.
Right. And God forbid you have a giant penis, then it's like pissing razor.
Yeah.
There's so much more of it to hurt.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I had that trouble. Like like when it goes on for miles and miles and
Miles
miles.
and miles.
Like
Yes. Oh,
you
you
know,
poor dear. You poor
I know
thing.
I suffered.
Nobody knows the trouble she's seen, everybody.
I know. I'm a martyr to sex, guys. Paint murals of me and my massive schlong.
Yeah. So Karen is mentioning herpes. I think we should mention that there's not a vaccination against herpes, right? There are medications like valcyclovir and I think acyclovir. I could be getting that last one wrong. That people who have herpes can take that should minimize outbreaks and transmissibility, but there isn't a vaccination, and it also is not guaranteed. It's not the same as taking PrEP for HIV transmission. If somebody has herpes and they're taking valcyclovir, I think the transmission, like it's like an 80% reduction in the possibility of transmission. Um, so Karen, you're right. If they're having an outbreak, you can see the sores. The problem with herpes is that it is um, some of its peak transmissibility is the shedding phase that occurs right before an outbreak, where the virus is coming up out through the skin and shedding off of the skin and is very contagious. But the sores have not developed yet, and so that's a worry with herpes, right? Is that in that case, condom use is going to be your best friend, assuming that the person who has herpes has it on their dick, and if they wear a condom, then it's not transmissible that way.
But remember, even if you wear a condom, it can be transmissible. Like condoms, herpes is one of the few sexually transmitted diseases that condoms won't prevent you from transmitting it, like, or receiving it.
Right.
Like it's highly contagious, and nobody gets tested for it enough either. That's
Right.
another point.
Right. Interestingly, my doctor, who's a gay doctor, who's very, very up on everything. I've gone to him asking about herpes testing. He's kind of like, yeah, we can test for it, but there's not a lot we can do about it. Um, Another thing to kind of note about herpes is they no longer, so they're no longer really talking about like oral herpes or genital herpes because in the olden days, when missionary was much more common, herpes could be localized. It was usually like simplex one was, I'm going to get these backwards probably. Simplex one was on the mouth and simplex two is on the genitals. It's all cattywampus now because everybody loves to suck dick and eat ass and put penises and genitals everywhere. Yeah, like guilty is charged. Um, and so they no longer talk about kind of genital or oral. Like either one can happen can happen anywhere. Um, we're coming up on the top of the hour, Fusen, and I've got another show right after this. Karen did mention something at the very beginning, talking about um, you know, combining oral and anal and sort of the kind of
Oh,
risk and responsibility there. What is what is your experience?
I generally wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
Um, I wouldn't go from I go from mouth to ass, no problem. But
yeah,
from ass to from ass to mouth, no. Like that's unfortunately that's incredibly unhygienic. You may as well just pardon my bluntness, Karen, but you may as well just have someone shit in your mouth. Like like because it's yeah, it's not very nice and I wouldn't do it and it's very unhygienic. I think Little J said E. coli. Yeah.
right.
Like
Like you're exposing yourself to E. coli or Giardia. Maybe
just
not
the
Giardia.
all the nasty stuff.
Yeah,
So
like
I would never go ass to mouth ever.
yeah. Um, uh, and yet we can say that I know there are people who do it. I've seen it in porn. Like there are definitely guys who get off on the idea of like sucking a dick clean after they've been fucked.
Sorry.
Uh, and it the proper advice is just don't do it. Um,
Gives me the cramps just thinking about it. Like,
right. Sounds like a great way to ruin your weekend by
uh,
by getting dysentery or you
dysentery.
know
Yeah.
yeah, just having a case of the shits for sure. Oh
Yeah.
my God,
At the
this was
very
so much
least.
fun, Susan. Thank you so much for
No,
taking the
thank
time to do
you.
this.
Thank you for all your information as well. You're very schooled up and very, very knowledgeable on these things. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you could quite easily be a sexual health coach. Easily.
I'll hang my shingle and maybe maybe that's my next career. I'd love
And
it.
yeah.
Thank you, Fusen. Thank you
Thank
everybody
you.
for being here. We love you so much. See you
Bye.
next
Lots
week.
of love. Bye
Bye.
bye.